"You're sleeping in the garage tonight," she said, arms crossed, voice cold enough to freeze the air between us. "My boyfriend's coming over." At first, I thought she was joking. I even let out a dry laugh, but her expression didn't change. Her lips were pressed tight, eyes unflinching. That's when it hit me. She meant every word. I'd heard rumors, neighbors whispering, co-workers giving me those pitying looks, but I never wanted to believe it. I loved her too much to think she could be capable of something like this. For 8 years, I'd trusted her more than anyone. I worked 2 jobs to pay the mortgage, skipped vacations so we could save for the future, and all the while, she was building a separate world, a world that didn't have me in it. That night, she stood by the living room door, tapping her phone impatiently. "Don't make a scene," she said. "It's over between us anyway." I just stared at her. The woman I once thought was my home now looked like a stranger. I grabbed a blanket and went to the garage, too numb to argue. The smell of oil and old paint hit me as I lay down on the cold concrete floor. My hands trembled, but not from a chill, more from the realization that the life I'd built had already collapsed, and I was the last one to notice. Through the thin walls, I heard laughter, a man's voice, hers too. I covered my ears, but it didn't help. You can't unhear betrayal. At around midnight, I heard the sound of glasses clinking, then the creak of the couch springs. I wanted to walk in and drag the guy out of my house, but I didn't. Instead, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, feeling smaller with every muffled sound that came through the wall. By 3 a.m., the laughter had stopped. Then came a scream. It wasn't playful, it was sharp, panicked. I bolted upright. For a second, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ignore it, let her deal with whatever mess she created. But despite everything, some part of me, the part that still loved her, couldn't. Then my phone buzzed. Her name lit up the screen. "Please come inside." "Hurry," she cried the moment I answered. "He's gone crazy." I didn't ask questions. I ran. When I burst into the living room, she was backed into a corner, clutching her robe. The guy, tall, broad, eyes wild with something between rage and desperation, was shouting incoherently. He smelled of alcohol and sweat. "She told me you were out of the picture," he yelled at me. "Said she was free." He turned on her. "You lied to me, Emma. You said you'd left him." I stepped forward. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. He looked at me, smirked, then lunged. Instinct took over. Years of suppressed frustration found an outlet. I shoved him back, hard. He hit the coffee table, stumbled, and cursed before storming out the door, slamming it so hard the frame shook. Silence. Emma stood there, breathing heavily, eyes red. "I didn't know he'd react like that," she whispered. I stared at her. I didn't trust my voice. "He wasn't supposed to come over tonight," she said. "He just showed up. I told him you were gone for good. I didn't think." I laughed bitterly. "You didn't think. That's the first honest thing you've said in months." She sat on the couch, shaking. "I was going to tell you. I swear. I just didn't know how." I walked to the door, still open from where he'd left. The cold night air felt cleaner than anything inside that house. "You already told me," I said, "when you sent me to the garage." She cried softly as I turned to leave. "Where are you going?" "To sleep," I said. "But not here." I drove around aimlessly for hours, ending up in the parking lot of the grocery store where I worked. The city was quiet, almost peaceful. I stared at the steering wheel until sunrise, thinking about everything. How we'd met in college, how she'd made me feel like I was enough, and how easily she destroyed it. For the next week, I stayed with my brother. She texted a few times, mostly apologies, sometimes excuses. I didn't reply. But then she sent one message that made me stop. "He came back. He's threatening me. Please, can you just talk to him?" I almost deleted it. But then again, that same stupid part of me, the part that still couldn't let go, made me drive back to the house. When I arrived, the place was a mess. Her car was gone. The front door was ajar. And on the floor, I found a framed photo of our wedding day, shattered. I called her phone, straight to voicemail. I called the police, Told them there might have been a break-in. When they arrived, they found her car parked 3 blocks away. She was sitting inside, shaken but unharmed. Turns out the boyfriend had been arrested earlier that night for assaulting another woman he'd been seeing. She'd picked him well. When she saw me, she started crying. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. I didn't say a word. Over the next few days, I filed for divorce. I didn't make a scene, didn't yell, didn't beg. I just quietly erased myself from her world, the way she'd erased me from hers long before that night. Months passed. She tried to reach out a few times. Birthdays, anniversaries, small reminders of what used to be, but I never replied. And then, last month, I saw her at the supermarket, alone. She looked thinner, tired, older somehow. When our eyes met, she smiled nervously. "Hey," she said softly. I nodded. "Hey." There was so much I could have said about how I'd rebuilt my life, how peace feels when it's finally quiet. But I didn't. Instead, I just looked at her and said, "I hope you're sleeping better now." Her face fell. She knew what I meant. That night, her night of betrayal, had cost her everything that was ever real between us. I left with my groceries, feeling something close to closure. People talk about revenge like it's fire and fury, but the truth is, it's silence. It's walking away and letting them live with the echo of their own choices. And every time I think of that night, the cold garage floor and her shaking voice at 3 a.m., I realize she called me not because she loved me, but because she finally saw what I'd always been. The only man who ever truly cared enough to come back. But not anymore.